Imagine spending weeks perfecting a massive project. Late nights, endless coffee, slides polished to perfection. Now imagine your boss looks you in the eye and says, "Thanks, but I'll handle it from here." He steals the spotlight, the credit, and leaves you invisible. But what if you had one small, delicious way to flip the script and humiliate him in front of the very clients he was desperate to impress? If you've ever had someone steal credit for your hard work, you'll love this story. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you believe in karma, and get ready for one of the most satisfying petty revenge stories you'll hear today. I used to work at a marketing agency in Chicago. Glossy offices, beanbag chairs in a lounge, team photos on the website, the whole were a family vibe. But anyone who worked there knew the truth. It wasn't family. It was survival of the fittest. And at the top of that food chain was my manager. Let's call him Greg. He had this polished smile, this fake charm he turned on for clients. But behind closed doors, Greg was a vulture. He lived off other people's work. You'd spend nights tweaking pitch decks, double-checking data, practicing the flow, and then Greg would stroll into meeting the next morning, coffee in hand, acting like he'd pulled an all-nighter. Yeah, it was a grind, he'd say, sighing dramatically. Meanwhile, you're sitting in the back, exhausted, invisible. Everyone hated it. Everyone knew, but no one dared say a word. If you complained, you weren't a team player. You were difficult. And in that agency, being labeled difficult was basically a career death sentence. I tried to brush it off, keep my head down, focus on my work, don't make waves. But the final straw came with one huge client pitch. This was the one. A campaign that could make or break our quarter. I worked on it for weeks. I'm talking research that had me digging through industry reports at midnight. Slides I revised 10, maybe 15 times, even rehearsing the delivery with Greg, so he wouldn't stumble. I poured my heart into this project. And then, the morning of the presentation, Greg walks into my office, cool as ever. "Hey," he says, "you probably don't need to come to this one. Clients respond better to one voice. Don't worry, I've got it." I remember just staring at him, my pulse in my ears. What I heard wasn't one voice. What I heard was, "Thanks for doing all the work. I'll take it from here." My throat went dry, my fists clenched under the desk. I wanted to yell, to call him out, but something stopped me. Instead of fighting, I went quiet. That night, as I prepped the files, an idea came to me. It wasn't big. It wasn't dramatic. It was just petty, deliciously petty. See, I had two versions of the deck. One was perfect, polished, smooth, client ready. The other? Oh, it was chaos. Typos everywhere. Charts broken. Slides out of order. I'd even left a personal note in the margins. Check if these numbers even make sense. Don't BS. Both versions sat in the shared folder, labeled almost the same. Greg, of course, never checked. He just grabbed the top file, confident as ever. And the next morning, in that big, shiny conference room, he walked in with his usual swagger. Clients seated around the table, lattes in hand, expectant smiles. The lights dimmed. He clicked the remote, and up popped the wrong deck. It started subtle. A misspelled headline here. A chart that didn't load there. Then it snowballed. Slide transitions jumbled. Data that contradicted itself. And then, the cherry on top, that little note glowing on the screen. Don't BS. The silence was brutal. One client raised an eyebrow. Another leaned back, unimpressed. Greg's voice wavered. He clicked frantically, sweat forming at his temple. He tried to ad-lib, to smooth it over, but the damage was done. The meeting ended with polite smiles and the dreaded phrase, "Maybe we should reschedule." I was in the room, but oh, I heard about it. Everyone did. By the time I walked into the office, the whispers had already spread. That afternoon, Greg called me into his office. My stomach knotted. Was he going to blame me? Fire me? Instead, he cleared his throat and said, "So, the clients want to see a revised version. This time, I think it'd be good if you presented." And just like that, the stage was mine. At the rescheduled pitch, I used a polished deck. My hands trembled at first, but once I started, the nerves melted into focus. I spoke with confidence, answered their questions, walked them through every detail. When it ended, the clients actually applauded. We landed the deal. Back at the office, everyone knew what had happened. No one said out loud, but the smirks, the pats on the back, they told me everything. Greg never mentioned it. Not once. But funny enough, he never excluded me from a client meeting again. If he wanted credit, he had to share it. And that petty little move, that was the first time I truly felt like I'd beaten him at his own game. The image of Greg fumbling in front of clients, that don't BS note staring back at him, lived rent-free in my mind for months. And the best part? I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to fight. I just let his arrogance dig his own grave. Sometimes revenge doesn't have to be grand or destructive. Sometimes it's just one small, clever move, the kind that reminds the world, hey, I'm not invisible. You don't get to walk over me. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the pettiest but most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe for more stories just like this.